WADR, promoting dialogue.
It's 6 p.m. in Dakar and Monrovia, 7 p.m. in Lagos. Good evening and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on wadr.org. Welcome to Newslink. Here are the top stories. Government of Togo halts the issuance of new exploration permits to mining companies across the country. Liberia launches campaign for re-election to Category A on the International Maritime Organization Council.
This year, we are standing for re-election because we present a very qualitative credential.
Nigerian President Tinubu seeks National Assembly's approval to settle over $20 billion external loan and nearly 800 billion naira outstanding pension liabilities. And CSOs in Benin criticizes ruling government refusal to amend electoral law that suppresses opposition parties ahead of the 2026 presidential election.
C'est la non-application par le ministre de l'Intérieur de l'époque.
It's the Interior Minister's failure to implement the law at the time that has led you to continue talking about 295 political parties.
Pas plus de 6 candidats alors qu'il y a 11 partis politiques.
Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Christopher Aticho with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast. This edition begins in Togo, where the country has temporarily halted the issuance of new exploration permits to mining companies. This announcement is in line with the strategic overhaul of the mining code currently under review. The ultimate goal is to better regulate the exploration of natural resources for the country's benefit. Augustine Colley reports.
According to the Togolese government, the objective of this temporary halt is to establish a more transparent, equitable and sustainable mining industry. This pause marks a significant turning point in a world increasingly influenced by citizens' advocacy for better resource management and the need to protect ecosystems. Government says it intends to ensure that new mining permits adhere to stricter regulations and that current mining operations are held accountable, respect environmental standards, and consider the impacts on local communities. This decision is also viewed as a way to address the shortcomings of the previous mining system in Togo. While awaiting the official publication of the new mining code, the authorities aim to send a strong message to investors, local communities, and technical partners. As a result, Togo will no longer grant concessions without the solid guarantees of good governance. Although this decision may temporarily slow down certain initiatives, it promises to harness a new and positive direction for the mining sector. The anticipated new framework is expected to position the country as a modern mining destination that aligns with international standards.
Augustine Colley filed the report. Still in Togo, the number of municipal councillors to be elected in the upcoming local elections on July 10 has increased significantly. According to the latest decree issued by the state, a total of 1,667 municipal councillors are to be elected, up from 1,527 in 2019, which represents an increase of 140 seats. However, some political parties consider this as a belated decision and are calling for the elections to be postponed in order to allow for better preparation. Abdullahi Hassan has the details in the following report.
This decision followed a decree signed on May 21, 2025 by the President of the Council, Foyan Singbe, to increase the number of municipal councillors to 1,667. The decree was issued one day after the official opening of the nomination process for the upcoming municipal elections. In response to this decision, the Action Committee for Renewal (CER) has called for a postponement of the municipal elections. The Dynamics for the People's Majority DMP also issued a press statement supporting the call for a delay in the elections, describing the presidential decree as a decision made late at night. Additionally, the Permanent Consultative Framework (CPC) held its 21st session of the year on Monday in Lomé, the nation's capital, and addressed the increase in the number of municipal councillors to be elected. According to the Togolese government, this decision was based on updated data from the 5th General Population and Housing Census and aims to ensure that local representation reflects demographic changes.
A report from CV Wadr in Lomé and voiced by Abdullahi Hassan. Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu is seeking the National Assembly's approval for a $21.5 billion external loan and a 758 billion naira domestic bonds to settle outstanding pension liabilities. The request, aimed at financing critical projects across various sectors of the economy, particularly infrastructure, health, education, and water supply, was read during the Senate plenary this Tuesday. The president's request has been referred to the Senate Committee on Local and Foreign Debt for further legislative scrutiny, with a report expected within 2 weeks. In a separate request, President Tinubu also sought the Senate authorization for the issuance of a federal government bond in the domestic debt market to settle outstanding pension liabilities under the contributory pension scheme. The proposed bond issuance amounts to 757 naira.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Let's take you to the Sahel region, particularly in Burkina Faso, where the long-awaited verdict in the real estate fraud case involving a former magistrate and others was delivered on Monday, May 26, 2025 by the Wadr 1 High Court. Former magistrate Sidati Yoda and his co-defendants were each sentenced to 18 months in prison and fined 291,600,000 CFA francs, with the sentence being firmed. Francis Boniface has the details in this report.
The former president of the Bamfara High Court, Sidati Yoda, along with 2 co-defendants, was found guilty of illegally selling plots belonging to others in a real estate scam that involved 108 million CFA francs. Lamin Terra and Adama Ganami, who were also charged with the same offenses, were acquitted of money laundering charges due to the benefit of doubt. However, the judge found them guilty of theft. Lamin Terra received a 24-month prison sentence, with 6 months suspended, along with a fine of 3 million CFA francs, while Adama Ganame was sentenced to 24 months in prison and fined 3 million CFA francs, both of which were suspended. In the same ruling, the court declared the civil action brought by the National Anti-Corruption Network, RENLAC, inadmissible. However, it accepted the civil action from 10 victims, a ruling it well-founded. The defendants were ordered to pay these victims a total of 117,203,990 CFA francs, as well as 1 million CFA francs to the state. The 3 defendants were jointly and severally ordered to pay an additional 2,800,000 CFA francs in costs that were not included in the victims' compensation. The Ouaga High Court also rejected the nullity plea regarding the investigation report of the Attorney General at the Bobo Dialoso Court of Appeal. The convicted individuals have 15 days to appeal the initial decision.
Francis Boniface filed the report. In neighboring Mali, the government is continuing its political reconstruction effort with the development of the National Charter for Peace and Reconciliation. This initiative, launched in June 2024, comes amid a break with the Algiers Peace Agreement and aims to establish a sovereign framework to address the country's security and social challenges. Prime Minister Abdoulaye Maiga chaired a strategic meeting at the Prime Minister's office on Monday Monday, May 26, 2025, bringing together the government and the committee responsible for drafting the National Charter for Peace and Reconciliation. The objective was to finalize the final details of the major document, whose official adoption is scheduled for June 30. Launched in June 2024 at the initiative of the President of the Transition, this commission, led by Oseni Usufi Maiga, has undergone several complex stages. A plenary draft was presented in October, despite organizational challenges encountered during the national consultations, which required several postponements. At this time, we head to Benin, where the government, led by Patrice Talon, is facing criticism for refusing to hold discussions on electoral laws that disadvantage opposition parties and secure the ruling party's hold on power. Civil society organizations, CSOs in the country, argued that these laws, such as requirement for political parties to have national coverage and substantial funding, effectively exclude independent candidates from the electoral process. These concerns are being expressed in a lead-up to the 2026 presidential election in Benin. Jean-Baptiste Elias is the president of the National Organization Against Corruption in Benin.
C'est la non-application par le ministre de l'Intérieur de l'époque.
It's the Interior Minister's failure to implement the law at the time that has led you to continue talking about 295 political parties. Take the statistics. Look at the number of parties in Parliament in 2015. You won't find 295. The law stated, and he just repeated it, that some were removed. If the Interior Minister at the time had implemented the law, all political parties that didn't participate in at least 2 elections would have been expelled. We won't have 281. That's number one. Secondly, we are saying there are 11 political parties. Perfect. But when you establish a political party, it's to go to elections, to win the votes of the electorate and ensure the management of power. With the sponsorship system in place today, can all 11 political parties run in the elections? The answer is no. Since the sponsorship system we've put in place in the code states that 15% of the sponsors are required to be the top candidate in the elections, that means if we let all the MPs and all the mayors have their sponsorships, we will have at best and in total no more than 6 candidates, even though there are 11 political parties.
Jean-Baptiste Elias is the president of the National Organizations Against Corruption Front in Benin. Ghana's minority in parliament has criticized the government's temporary closure of the Ghanaian embassy in Washington, D.C. amid visa scandal. The embassy's closure was announced by Foreign Minister Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa on Monday, May 26, after a major corruption scandal involving visa fraud and unauthorized payment was uncovered by a special audit. The fraudulent activities were linked to the embassy's IT department. According to the minister, the move is to allow for deeper investigations and a complete restructuring of the mission. WADR's Nadi Detete reports.
Ghana's embassy in Washington, D.C. has been shut down temporarily following revelations of a visa fraud scheme uncovered through a special audit. Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa confirmed the closure, describing it as a necessary measure to restore credibility and tighten oversight at the country's foreign missions. An investigation found that a local IT officer at the embassy, Fred Kwating, had for years been diverting visa and passport applications to a private website where they were charged unauthorized fees. The funds reportedly went into his personal account. All staff posted to the mission have been recalled, while local employees have been suspended. The matter has been referred to the Attorney General for further action. However, Deputy Ranking Member on the Parliamentary Foreign Affairs Committee, Nana Safweje Aye, has condemned the government's approach, describing it as undiplomatic.
We are not saying that the crime should be concealed. No, but take it off the media. Because when you do this, the point is that you have told the entire world. You think that America will will trust your embassy in Washington, will trust you when they are dealing with you.
His position is countered by international relations expert Richard Kumado.
This is not a service to disadvantage anybody. He used the word restructuring. I don't know the key elements of the restructuring agenda, but knowing the intensity and how well New York and Washington has been in terms of Ghanaians and foreigners who want to visit this country and the importance of assessing our embassy, I don't think it's something that is going to last for years.
A full forensic audit is expected, with no word yet on when the embassy will reopen. The government says the disruption is unfortunate but necessary to clean up the system and reinforce its anti-corruption stance. For WADR, Nadi Tete, Accra.
Still on this development, the embassy in Washington, D.C. is expected to be reopened on Thursday, May 29, resuming all or full consular services after a temporary closure due to a major corruption scandal. This decision was announced in a statement released by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs on Tuesday, May 27. The Ghanaian government states that a team of seasoned diplomats, led by an astute diplomat from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, has been tasked to run the mission to ensure a total system overhaul, restore integrity in the embassy's operation, and complete ongoing structural reforms. So in Ghana, the President John Dramani Mahama has announced that his government is taking steps to reopen both domestic and international capital markets, with a particular focus on revitalizing Ghana's bond market. While speaking at the Ghana CEO Summit in Accra, the President explained that further borrowing or future borrowing will prioritize self-financing and commercially viable projects. He noted that the initiative, which is being carried out in collaboration with the IMF, the Ghana Stock Exchange Development Partners and local banks, is part of a broader effort to stabilize the economy following years of debt accumulation. He explained that the initiative is one of the 8 key measures outlined in his administration's economic recovery plan.
We will continue the discipline in government expenditure and borrowing and work to achieve all targets under the Extended Credit Fund with a program with the IMF. We expect to conclude the 4th review of the IMF program in June 2025 with a target to exit at the end of the program in 2026. And thereafter, we will participate in Article 4 consultations and adopt the policy support instrument framework, signaling Ghana's return to responsible, non-borrowing engagement with the fund. And the second is reopening domestic and international capital markets. We're working to reopen Ghana's bond market in collaboration with the IMF and our development partners, the Ghana Stock Exchange and local banks. However, future borrowing will be linked to self-financing commercially viable projects, particularly by MDAs, MMDAs and SOEs, ensuring value for money and sustainable repayment.
Ghana's President John Dramani Mahama. You're still listening to Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on wadr.org. We are also live on Facebook at WADR English Service, as well as YouTube WADR News. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Government of Togo halts the issuance of new exploration permits to mining companies across the country. Liberia launches campaign for re-election to Category A at the IMO Council. And Nigerian President Tinubu seeks the National Assembly's approval to settle over $20 billion external loan and nearly 800 billion naira outstanding pension liabilities. And CSOs in Benin criticizes ruling government refusal to amend electoral law that suppresses opposition parties ahead of the 2026 presidential election. Still ahead in the news, we have the guest interview and sports news. Please stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Let's take you to Guinea-Bissau, where Senegalese President Bassirou Diomaye Faye concluded a 24-hour visit on Monday May 26th. This marked the first state visit by a Senegalese president to Guinea-Bissau since the country gained independence in 1974. Upon his arrival, the President Faye received a military welcome and was presented with a Cabral Medal, the highest honor in Guinea-Bissau. He also visited the Amura fortress, where Amilcar Cabral, the revered figure in Guinea-Bissau's Wall of Independence, is buried. During the visit, President Faye and Guinea-Bissau's head of state, Umaro Sissoko Embalo, discussed various areas of cooperation, ultimately leading to the signing of an agreement. Here's an extract of President Bassirou Diomaye Faye's statement during the visit.
I would like to express my satisfaction with the rich cooperation in several areas between Senegal and Guinea-Bissau, particularly in defense and security, agriculture and fishing, just to name a few. I would like to assure that Senegal will always stand by Guinea-Bissau in its efforts to strengthen its security and stability. We have taken a broad look at current events and the many common challenges that concern us, particularly the instability and risks of disintegration of ECOWAS.
And that's Senegalese President Bassirou Diomaye Faye. Let's turn attention to Liberia, where the government has launched its campaign for re-election to the International Maritime Organization IMO Council Category A. The campaign kicked off on Monday with a boat launch reception on the scenic Thames River in London, which brought together members, states, and representatives from Global Maritime Organization. The Liberian Maritime Authority is optimistic about the re-election bid, emphasizing the country's historical contribution to the IMO since it joined in 1949. During the launch ceremony, Liberia's representative to the IMO, Robert Wadr, expressed confidence in the nation's qualifications. Ambassador Wadr highlighted Liberia's status as the highest maritime registry and its commitment to adhering to global maritime regulations and laws.
This is a very critical moment. Liberia will stand tall amongst global maritime institutions and maritime member states after seeking re-election based on our record as a country. Since 1949, Liberia joined the IMO, the International Maritime Organization. We have been quite very productive, quite effective and efficient. Based on our contribution, we've been able to provide to the IMO over the last decades and more. This year, we are standing for re-election because we present a very qualitative credential based on our contribution. Liberia is not just only the biggest ship registry, but our ship and our registry program conforms entirely to global regulation, global norms, global law to ensure that we conduct our business in keeping with global maritime law. Not only that, we continue to be very robustly involved in the workings of the IMO, from the plenary to subcommittee workings to committee workings to working group, and everywhere we continue to be very visible and continue to demonstrate leadership. Our contribution in these different deliberations have been quite qualitative. So based on our record, very outstanding record, a very enviable record.
And that's Liberia's permanent representative to the IMO, Robert Wadr.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Our guest interview this evening focuses on the 50 years existence of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, which will be followed by an official commemoration on May 28, the same day in history when it was formed in 1975. Since then, the regional bloc has established and reviewed its operational blueprint of promoting regional unity, maintaining peace and security, and protecting human rights, among others. However, the shift in international policies by the superpowers on friendly economic policies and especially in security have hampered the regional body's activity in certain quarters. Yet, when WADR asked a historian and governance expert, Professor Gogui Jeng, about his assessment of ECOWAS at 50, this is what he had to say.
The first observation we have got to make is that the collaboration between the member states of ECOWAS has been, on the whole, quite strong. And we can consider ECOWAS to be, if not the strongest, but one of the strongest regional communities in Africa. It has really achieved a lot. The economic integration is real. People can move from Nigeria and come and settle in Senegal and vice versa. And this is valid for the other countries also. So there is a degree of social integration that is really tangible. Economically speaking also, even though we have got to improve this side of the cooperation, a lot of things have been done and exchanges exist between the different countries. We have also a regional parliament, which is working quite well. On the whole, if I really have got to give a mark to the organization, I would say good, but have got to do better.
Now, in what area do you think ECOWAS moving forward, looking into the second Jubilee journey, should improve on? At least we have seen that regardless of their strength in standing together, 3 countries have pulled out, talking about the 3 silent states. Many have said this is a major blow on the face of ECOWAS. So what are some of the other things that you think they can do better?
Well, the breakaway, you can call it a breakaway. I don't believe that there is any breakaway. I think it's simply a reaction to threats against those military regimes that triggered off their reaction. And the name of the association, alliance, means a lot. They have set up this alliance in order to resist. And I believe that the day we have security for them, they will come back to ECOWAS. I don't believe that that will last long. It is a blow, of course, but I believe that everything will be mended in the coming months or in the coming years. So I believe that the future can be bright, but what we have got to sort out is the political issue. It is high time ECOWAS set up a universal agenda, a universal political agenda for all the member states. We have got to have the same political system. We have got to have the same elections, the way in which elections are carried out.
And that's Senegalese historian and governance expert Professor Gogui Jeng. And when you hear that whistle, it's time for sports. And Augustine Colley joins me in studio with sports. Augustine, what's happening?
Good evening, Chris. So ahead of the 2025 Unity Cup in London on Wednesday, Nigeria's Super Eagles captain and forward Ahmed Musa has admitted that the national team performance has been disappointing in recent times. The 32-year-old forward, who currently plays for Kano Pillars in the Nigeria Premier League, made the statement this Tuesday as he returns to the national team after an absence. Let's listen to Ahmed Musa.
Right. It has been a long time, but I don't think there's any difference. So we'll just wait and see the day of the game to see what is going to happen. As you can see, a lot of home-based team boys in the team. As you can see, like the coach, I think he watched a lot of games of the Nigeria League. So I feel very happy for them. So let's see what can happen in the game. Yeah, we know that a lot of Nigerians are, I would say they are very disappointed in the Super Eagles, but I will always call on them to just keep on supporting us because that is what we need right now. Their support will make a very impact for us.
So that was Ahmed Musa, Nigeria's Super Eagle captain. Meanwhile, the 3-time African champions will partake in the 2025 Unity Cup, focusing on a very crucial match against Ghana. Of course, the Black Star.
Yes. We are 4 times African champions. They are 3 times. They've admitted that their team is not really doing well at the moment. We also admitted that our team was not doing well, but now we are doing very well.
And so tomorrow it's a very crucial clutch.
Very well. Great. Unity game, and it also marks ECOWAS celebration at 52, so obviously.
Yeah.
And with that, we've come to the end of today's edition of Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening. And many thanks to Fali Luso and Shekin Jai for the technical assistance. Do interact with us via our social media platforms, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram at WADR News, and on Facebook at WADR English Service. I am Christopher Aticho. Good evening and enjoy the rest of our broadcasts.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, New Me FM 94.